but now its main star is suing Disney.
Scarlett's contract called for points, and that means that she gets a percentage of the box office gross, and that's how a lot of Hollywood actors operate these days. But she claims that by Disney releasing the film on Disney Plus, it dipped into her profits. So let's talk numbers here. I mean, Black Widow, like you said, set a pandemic-era record, taking in $80 million in North America. But overall, around the world, it only took in $319 million, making it one of the lowest-grossing Marvel films of all time. Now, regardless of what this outcome is on the lawsuit, you can pretty much guarantee that Scarlett's next contract, Nicole, is probably going to be a little more detailed.
Hello everyone, this is Viral. Here on Viral, we talk about actress Scarlett Johansson, the star of Disney's Black Widow, but she have an issue with Disney as she's saying that Disney didn't tell her that she wasn't going to get no profits after the Black Widow release on theaters and Disney Plus. We'll get to the latest what's going on with Scarlett Johansson suing Disney for Black Widow's release and all. Hello everyone, welcome to this special edition of Viral. I'm your host as always, Kendrick Dix here. Let's talk about actress, box office attraction, Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson been in the news lately saying that she's suing Disney, saying that Disney didn't tell her that she didn't sign up for the Disney Plus release of her movie Black Widow. She thought it was going to be in theaters, but with the protocols going on with COVID-19, Disney decided to have it in theaters and on Disney Plus with a added cost to watch Black Widow on Disney Plus. And ScarJo is not having it one bit. She's unhappy about it, and she decided to sue. All right, let's get to the latest. What's going on between the ongoings with Disney and Scarlett Johansson with this impending lawsuit that Johansson did to Disney? Take a look. Scarlett Johansson making it clear that she felt like Disney did her wrong. She felt like the media titan conglomerate Disney didn't tell her that she signed up to be on Disney Plus with her movie. Disney argued that due to the pandemic, many people weren't going to see it. She was going to get an additional bonus on Disney Plus for how performed the movie did. And they felt like ScarJo was kind of going apprehensive, but ScarJo saying that, hey, I thought I was going to be in theaters. I signed up for a $30 million contract to be in theaters. I didn't sign up for it to be on Disney Plus. So there's a lot going on with those ongoings now. You never know what's going to be and how it's going to receive. Let's hear what you people had to say on our segment. What the people say about Disney and Scarlett Johansson, this ongoing suit going on with Johansson saying that Disney didn't ask her for permission to release the movie on Disney Plus. Let's take a look.
Because they released the movie not only in the cinema, but simultaneously on the streaming TV service Disney Plus. Why is this worthy of a lawsuit?
Look, it's a really interesting thing because firstly she's suing Disney, but she actually has a contract with Marvel. I mean, Marvel is owned by Disney, but at the same time, they can't breach a contract that they're not a party to. The whole basis of it is that Disney has done what we call a day and date release. In other words, they've gone theatrical and they've gone to VOD on the same day. And what they're saying is her salary is linked to box office bonuses. Box office is purely theatrical release. So if they're going to release it on the streaming platform at the same time, then that is theoretically going to reduce the number of people that will go to see it at the box office. So she'll end up with less money. And that her contract promised that she would get a wide theatrical release. So whether or not this will be allowable as a wide theatrical release, given that it went on another platform at the same time, that's what the question's going to be about.
But it's not just theoretical, is it? Because the movie's been out about 10 days now, and the first week did really, really well at the box office in the United States. But the second week, it has fallen off a cliff, and that's what's prompted her to bring in the lawyers. The fact that normally you would have the first week bounce, first weekend big, but you'd have 3 or 4 weeks at the box office when it did okay. She had week 1, and that was fine. Week 2 was awful though.
Absolutely, it fell off a cliff, and the theatre owners in the States are really angry about this. Not just for this film, but for all films, because there are other studios that are trying to do the same thing to try and work out what we as an audience are comfortable doing in a post-COVID world. Because a lot of people are not comfortable going to theatres, so that obviously is affecting the numbers as well. But you're absolutely right. If we have a look at the numbers, 39 million on the first day, which is actually quite good in a post-COVID world, matches what Fast and the Furious did a few weeks beforehand, but just sunk like a stone after that. And by day 21, 3 weeks in, it was only doing $1 million a day in US box office. I mean, that's negligible. That's terrible numbers.
So, what happens next, Fiona? Because Disney has hit back, and they've hit back not just by saying we don't think that this lawsuit has credibility, but with quite a personal attack on Scarlett Johansson, saying doing this in a time of COVID when so many people are suffering and want to be at home watching movies at home is just the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, and the worst thing that they did is that they actually revealed her salary as well, which is, of course, getting a lot of attacks because it's not the sort of thing that you normally would do, is reveal how much somebody got paid to do a film. And a lot of people are saying this is a bit of gender politics at play because, would they release that same information for the likes of a Tom Cruise or a Dwayne Johnson? Interestingly, Dwayne Johnson is about to go through the same thing because his next film is also doing a day and date release with Disney. So it'll be interesting to see if that kicks up anything as well. Dwayne Johnson is a very, very serious businessman, so it will be interesting to see. I think from here, we could possibly see this disappear from news cycles as the parties go into a fairly big negotiation. And I'm really, really surprised that negotiation didn't take place well before they did the day and date release.
So she got paid $20 million so far, Disney has said. That's the figure that they've put on her compensation salary, call it what you will, for the movie. They say that the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access, and they are charging for this, has significantly enhanced Scarlett Johansson's ability to earn additional compensation on top of that $20 million that she has received to date. Do we buy that argument?
I'm not 100% comfortable with that argument. I think we are talking about two very big players in the industry. Scarlett Johansson doesn't necessarily need a Disney success to be the A-lister that she is today. She's already an A-lister. The woman has a lot of power in Hollywood. Her name on a film does guarantee incredible amounts of money for a studio, and that's what they're paying for. She is Black Widow. This entire Marvel spin-off was created because the audience really related to her in that character role. That's why they made this film. So paying her $20 million might sound like a lot of money, but actually, given that this is her film and was driven by her entirely, it's not that much money at all.
But now its main star is suing Disney.
Scarlett's contract called for points, and that means that she gets a percentage of the box office gross, and that's how a lot of Hollywood actors operate these days. But she claims that by Disney releasing the film on Disney Plus, it dipped into her profits. So let's talk numbers here. I mean, Black Widow, like you said, set a pandemic-era record, taking in $80 million in North America. But overall, around the world, it only took in $319 million, making it one of the lowest-grossing Marvel films of all time. Now, regardless of what this outcome is on the lawsuit, you can pretty much guarantee that Scarlett's next contract, Nicole, is probably going to be a little more detailed.
Hollywood actress Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over its decision to release her latest Marvel film, Black Widow, simultaneously in theaters and on streaming. So Catherine Beek is here to walk us through this lawsuit. So Catherine, what is this all about? What's in the lawsuit?
Well, Scarlett Johansson says that Disney breached her contract when it decided to release Black Widow in theaters and on Disney Plus on the same day, Alex. The lawsuit says her contract with Disney, which owns Marvel Entertainment, guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release, and that a large part of her salary was going to be based on the box office performance of the movie. That's pretty standard for top talent. They end up taking a smaller amount on the front end in order to have a portion of the profits on the back end. And a source familiar with Johansson's contract told the Wall Street Journal that the decision to put the film on streaming likely cost her something like $50 million.
Oh, that's easy. That's pocket change. No big deal there. Well, how is Disney responding to all of this?
A spokesman for Disney says the lawsuit has no merit and called Johansson out for her, quote, callous disregard for COVID, Alex. The studio claims Disney fully complied with her contract, and it noted that the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date.
So we've seen this all throughout the pandemic where films are released simultaneously in theaters and on streaming. And I think a lot of people like that they have the choice to either go to a theater or stay at home on their couch. So Black Widow isn't the first to do this. So why is this lawsuit so notable?
I can think of two big reasons, Alex, just off the top of my head. Scarlett Johansson is a major A-list actress, and she has been playing this character, Natasha Romanoff, for a really long time. Marvel fans know that her character has suffered years of sexism within the MCU, and despite being the only main female character for a really long time, it somehow took 11 years for her to get to this point, to get her own solo movie. And spoiler alert, it only ended up happening after Marvel killed off her character in 2019's Endgame. So the optics just aren't really great here, and I wouldn't be surprised if Disney tries to settle this out of court. The second reason is Marvel is the biggest money-making franchise in all of Hollywood, and most movies end up making more than $1 billion in theaters. Black Widow, though, has only made a fraction of that, just a little over $300 million. So although other studios have released films on streaming and in theaters at the same time, Marvel is just its own beast. So it's hard to compare something like the new Space Jam movie going to HBO Max with Black Widow being put on Disney Plus because they're just not even in the same ballpark. Space Jam was never going to make the same amount of money in theaters that Black Widow would have pre-pandemic. So Warner Brothers' decision here wasn't going to have as big of an impact as Disney's did on Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow team. So I think it's just going to be really interesting to see how this lawsuit plays out and whether actor contracts are changed from here on out to maybe include something like streaming profits as part of their salaries.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Thank you, Catherine. Suing Disney for streaming the film online at the same time it did in theaters. In court filings, Johansson claims Disney tried to draw audiences away from theaters to its own streaming platform. She says Disney promised the film would have an exclusive theatrical release for at least 90 days. Disney maintains it fully complied with Johansson's contract. So let's bring in Bloomberg Opinions, Tara LaChapelle, and Quick Takes, Alex Webb. Tara is here with me in studio. So let's just start with you, Tara. I love your new column. It's titled, Disney Should Know Not to Battle a Superhero. I want to ask you, did you see this coming?
I think so because, last winter when Warner Media decided they were going to put all of the Warner Brothers films on HBO Max, starting with Wonder Woman 1984, Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, the director in that film, they had some reportedly tense negotiations with Warner Brothers about what that would mean for them, because a lot of times the stars in these films are promised a certain amount of pay based on how well the movies do in movie theaters. So when the studios pull a bait and switch like this and decide, well, we're going to put it on opening weekend, available online for people, well, you've just undermined those box office sales. And so that can be pretty meaningful for these actors. So a lot of them had been kind of behind the scenes renegotiating with these studios, especially Warner. And it's really interesting that this is the first case where we saw actually a lawsuit come out of it. You have to imagine these studios want to avoid that. It doesn't look very good. So, it's interesting to see Scarlett Johansson come out and sue Disney as opposed to Disney trying to get ahead of this and working out a deal before it got to that point.
A little deeper than what we initially thought. It's more than just a little spout between employee, employer, and employer. So we did a video back, a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? Hell, I don't know. Might be yesterday. Yeah, talk about Scarlett Johansson news that came out, in which she had basically the information came out. Her lawyers speaking, or the people that were representing her, are representing her, saying that they're suing Disney because of a breach of contract. More so, what it's in regards to is the release of the Black Widow movie being on Disney Plus instead of theaters, because it worked in her contract is her making money off of, I guess she had to get some either producer credit or something. Maybe it's just baked into her contract because of where she was at and how valuable she ends up being to this franchise, at least prior to now that she's out of there. Baked into the contract in some capacity was her getting laced up with some sort of money depending on the box office performance. Now, Black Widow didn't do that well. Or not as well as what it probably should have, considering the magnitude of what Marvel movies are doing nowadays. Now, this could be a telling sign for up to come with the entire universe in itself. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of time that needs to pass in order for us to be able to make that distinction. However, they didn't make as much money. Not just her. We talked about this with that theater owners association, or whatever the name of it is, also getting upset with Disney about this same exact thing, and that is because it got released on I almost said console, because it got released on Disney Plus, they're saying that they missed out on a lot of money. And that's the case that that Black Widow is sure not Black Widow. Her name is not Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson. That is the case that she's making, and representatives are making. But what is bizarre about it, or what is rather unique about the situation, which actually tells more than initially, is the fact that Disney just flat out came out and responded basically the same day and publicly, albeit basically offering what their viewpoint is from a spokesperson standpoint, meaning that all their lawyers looked this over, funneled it through the mainstream media or the access media, and then the word got out. So this was something that is coordinated, and that's what I want you guys to focus on, that this is a lot bigger than maybe what we initially anticipated because of just that. Disney doesn't usually do this shit. So, what happened?
People are vocal. Some of you are, opinionated. Some of you saying, hey, Scarlett Johansson just need to line up. It's just a movie. It's a pandemic. You're going to get views. And she should know. She should know. Like, now you're going to the new medium where everything is scream and stuff. And if Disney was going to give you a cut, let them give you a cut off of Disney Plus. That's kind of fair for them, but Scarlett Johansson felt like she can get more money in the box office, which that's okay. It's understandable. But she got to realize, too, like, we're in a pandemic. We just got back into wearing masks again, and people ain't getting vaccinated. So she got to be a little bit sensitive to that, if, stuff like that. But I understand where she's coming from. I understand where Disney's coming from. So it's kind of like you can put, work it out. That's what they say, work it out. So let's hope Scarlett Johansson and Disney find an amicable way, a cordial way to end this lawsuit, and they can move forward with business. Thank you all for watching this edition of Vibe. We talk about Scarlett Johansson suing Disney for Black Widow release. I've been your host, Kendrick Dix, saying so long. We'll see you next time for another edition of Vibe.